say?
Well, he didn't say nothing yet. I wouldn't offer him no deal until after you get a chance to meet the guy. But you won't have no trouble buying the joint. It's up for sale.
I told you, I don't want to buy the place. I just want a hunk of it.
Even if you can get the whole setup for 18 grand?
What good is the whole setup, you dope? Can I go into the shellac-making business with my record?
Well, who's going to know about that?
The government is going to know about that. The first time I try to buy denatured alcohol, I'd have to fill out an application, wouldn't I?
Well, you could use a phony name.
Sure. I can talk myself into a nice perjury rap, too, as soon as they got wise to me. Look, Whitey, you don't know this racket yet. It ain't like running a gambling joint. When you buy denatured alcohol, you got to deal with the government. You got to have somebody front for you. Somebody they trust enough to give a permit to. Otherwise, you can't buy a drop.
Oh, I get you now. You just want to use this shellac guy to buy it for you.
Yeah. That's why I asked you to look him over, to see if we can take him, without us knowing it.
In order to evade alcohol taxes, people who manufacture bootleg liquor either make the alcohol themselves illegally, steal it, or by a cleaning process, recover it from denatured industrial alcohol, which is tax-free, but which has been made unfit for drinking. And now, in my role as Chief Enforcement Officer of the Alcohol and Tobacco Tax Division, Internal Revenue Service, I'm going to tell you about a case involving this process and the life of a man who unwittingly became a party to it. This is Treasury File 6410, Alcohol and Tobacco Tax Division. The case of the frightened man.
Now, as I understand it, you don't want to buy the business outright, but you do want a half interest.
That's right, Mr. Miller. Kind of a partnership. We don't know too much about the shellac-making business, so we want you to stay right on here and run everything the way you have been. We'd kind of just be backers.
Well, I sure could use the money you'd be investing. I could pay some of my bills and get on my feet again. After all, I've been here a long while. You see, this belonged to my father before me, and it sure would please me if I could go on working here and not have to sell out.
Look, Mr. Miller, we want you here, as long as you want to stay. We just feel we can make the place pay if it's run right.
Well, it may take you a while to get your investment back.
Well, that's okay. Mr. Sherman ain't in no hurry.
That's right. Besides, I got a couple of ideas how we can pull you out of the red. It takes a lot of denatured alcohol to make up the shellac and stuff, don't it?
That's right, it does.
About how much does your permit allow you to buy?
Well, my permit's for 600 gallons a month, but with business the way it is, I haven't been buying near that much.
Well, I got a hunch you will from now on, so you better start ordering it. When you go into business with me, Mr. Miller, you're gonna sell a lot of shellac.
These new friends of yours, Pa? Millionaires from Chicago or something?
I don't know that they're millionaires, son, but they've got a lot of money. Enough to get me out of the hole that I'm in. Why, if they hadn't come in with me, I wouldn't have been able to meet Malone at the bank. I'd have had to sell the place for practically nothing just to pay my bills.
Then how come they're giving you so much money? Can't they see it ain't worth that much?
Well, they've got plans, son, and they've certainly got sales contacts. Why, since they've been with me, they've taken more orders for shellac than I've been able to sell in the last 3 years. And they've got a new process, too, for making it.
I don't see them making any shellac.
Well, they're making it all right in the big shed, right behind the storeroom. I'll take you there sometime and show you all the new equipment they brought in. I'll take you Saturday.
I've been there, Pa. They wouldn't let me in. As soon as I showed my face in there, they'd chase me out.
Well, this new process is kind of a secret, son. Sometimes they won't even let me in except to roll in supplies. You see, they're using a new formula. They haven't got a patent on it yet. They want to keep it to themselves. That's understandable.
Pa, they haven't got any new formula. They ain't even making shellac. They got whiskey out in that shed. Plain, ordinary rye whiskey.
Why, Clyde, what on earth are you talking about?
I saw 'em, Pa, pouring it into bottles and loading it onto a covered truck. I even sneaked in after they were through and picked up one of those bottles.
Clyde!
Honest, Pa, it said whiskey on it. Rye whiskey, guaranteed 6 years old. See, Pa, I told you they were loading whiskey in here. They take it out of their shed in 5-gallon cans and pour it in these bottles. That's why they always keep the door locked and chase everybody away.
And all this time, they've been making whiskey in there. Taking the alcohol that I've been getting for them and making it into whiskey. No wonder they could pay me all that money. They've been getting it back on this.
Sure, they're just a couple of crooks.
What are you talking about, kid? I thought I'd tell you to keep out of this place. You were going to keep out too, Miller, remember? I warned you about the secret process I have in there. I didn't want nobody to see it, not even you.
It's no secret anymore, Sherman. I know what you're doing in there. You're making whiskey.
Yeah?
You're just using my place for a front. You didn't want to go into business with me. All you wanted was the alcohol I could get for you.
You're jumping to an awful lot of conclusions, Mr. Miller. Just because you see a couple of whiskey bottles laying around here doesn't mean we're making the stuff.
Then what are you doing? I want to know what you're using the alcohol for. My kid says he saw you load a whole truck with whiskey the other day.
Well, your kid don't see so good. I say we're shellac.
It was whiskey, Pa, just like this.
You keep your mouth shut.
Here, you leave him alone.
Take it easy, Miller. There's no sense in getting all worked up about this. We got to talk it over for a while. Get the kid out of here, Whitey.
Don't you touch that boy. Come on.
Quiet, Miller. You're getting all worked up over nothing at all.
What?
Now, let's be sensible about this, huh, Miller? You're a nice guy, and so am I. Why should we make trouble for each other? We're trying to get along in the world. You in your way, me in mine. Now, what's wrong with that?
You're a crook, Sherman. A racketeer.
So, I'm a racketeer and you make shellac. You need me for the dough and I need you for the alcohol. What could be better?
I don't need your kind of money.
Look, Miller, there's only one kind of money, and you might as well take it while it's coming in. Because if you're going to try to be a hero about this, you're going to get hurt.
And according to the report, most of this whiskey has been appearing in southern Ohio and Indiana.
Anything distinctive about the bottle or the whiskey itself? The lab turn up anything?
Just one unusual item. Outside of the normal amount of flavor extract and coloring matter, the lab found traces of an alcohol denaturant, which would seem to indicate that whoever is making this whiskey is probably using industrial alcohol that's been recovered.
Cleaning it, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Are there any leads on where this denatured alcohol is coming from?
Just one so far. I checked with the regional office, and I had a list made up of all denatured alcohol permits applied for during the past year. Take a look at it. About halfway down the page, there's a shellac and varnish company that's increased its purchases almost 300% in the past few months.
Yeah, that might be the source, Chief.
Well, it's certainly worth looking into, Warwick. The company is buying almost 600 gallons a month. And the denaturant in the alcohol that they're buying is the same as the one that was found in this whiskey. In an effort to find out if the increased purchases of denatured alcohol, which Mr. Miller had been making in recent months, were warranted by a corresponding increase in the amount of business he was doing, Investigator Warwick checked with several businessmen in town who knew Miller and supplied him with the other raw materials needed for the manufacture of shellac and varnish.
No, I'd have no way of knowing that, Mr. Warwick. We simply take orders and make deliveries to him.
Mm-hmm. But in the past 6 months, there's been no indication of increase in business activity, and the orders he's placed with you for raw materials have been about the same as they always were.
Yes, sir. Well, now, come to think of it, I have noticed one thing. He's not so far behind on his bills anymore. But I suppose that's natural enough. He's beginning to get on his feet again.
Oh, how do you mean?
Well, he was in bad shape for a couple of years there. First he lost his wife, and then his business went bad. Had the place up for sale only a few months back. Couldn't make his notes at the bank. Then he was going to sell out.
Oh, do you happen to know why he didn't sell out? How he suddenly got enough money to continue?
No, sir, I don't. Well, there's been talk around town about him taking in a couple of new partners, but nobody around here ever sees them or knows who they are.
Mm-hmm. And Miller himself doesn't talk about them?
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Rustin. I appreciate your cooperation. You've been very helpful.
Well,
Another one, Pa? You gonna write for another alcohol permit for those two guys? Well, you know they're crooks.
I don't know anything of the kind. No, we were mistaken about them. They weren't really making whiskey. That was just one of the workers. One of the mixers. They fired him, and there's nothing like that going on anymore.
Pa, how can you talk like that? How can you make believe there's nothing going on when you know there is? It's like you're working for them, Pa. It's like being as bad as they are.
It isn't being anything. Now, you're just too young to understand. I wish you'd mind your own business.
Ain't it my business to see that you get a square deal and not let those two crooks walk all over you? Why didn't you throw them out? Why didn't you go to the police?
Because there's nothing to go to the police about.
Isn't there? You never lied to me, Pa. As long as I can remember, you never told me anything that wasn't so. And now you're washing all that out. You're washing out a lot of other things, too, Pa. All the things you and Ma taught me about being honest, standing up for what's right. If I did what you're doing now, you'd smack me. You'd take me out in this shed and...
No, I wouldn't, son. I'd try to understand.
Understand? Understand what? Knowing you're doing something wrong and closing your eyes to it? How many more permits are you gonna write for them? How long are you gonna let them go on, Pa?
What do you expect me to do? Let them kill me? Let them shoot me in the head and leave me in an alley somewhere?
They wouldn't dare.
But I can't, Clyde. Don't you see, if it was just me, it'd be different, but it's you, too. Who'll take care of you if anything happens to me?
But don't you see, Pa? Something's happening to you right now. You're not the same as you used to be. Since you let those two guys come in here, they've been walking all over you, ordering you around, making you act like somebody I can't look up to anymore.
Clyde.
Well, it's true, Pa. I can't.
Son, can't you see my... Hello, Miller Shellac and Varnish Company. Oh, hello, Mr. Sherman.
Hi. No. I just called up to find out about that application for a new permit. You sent it in yet?
Well, no, I haven't. I was just making it out. I don't think I'd better send it in. I've been applying for so much lately, I don't think I can do it anymore. If it keeps on like this...
Now, look, Miller, if you want me to get tough, So what do I care if it's squeezing you? Don't make so much shellac. Put water in it. Only don't argue with me.
But, Mr. Sherman... No, I didn't say that. All right, I'll send it in this afternoon. Clyde, You're ashamed of me, aren't you, son? You think I'm a coward.
I didn't say that.
Oh, if that's what you're thinking. When a man won't stand up and fight, I guess he's a coward. That man happens to be your own father. It's pretty hard to take. Especially when you've looked up to him all your life and thought he was a pretty great guy.
Pa.
It's what kids always think about their fathers. That they're strong and tough. They can lick anybody or anything in the whole world, but it isn't so, son. Sometimes we can't lick anybody. Sometimes we don't know what to do or where to go or even how to get along in the world. Sometimes we're just like kids.
But, Pa, if you know they're crooks and you don't do anything about it...
But I can't, Clyde. Don't you think I've tried? Do you think I'd go on like this if there was any way out? These aren't just crooks. They're killers. They're members of a gang, and they'll do anything to get what they want. This isn't like fighting a kid in the street. In this kind of a fight, you haven't got a chance.
But if you went to the police, they'd be caught, wouldn't they?
But how do I know they'll be caught? They aren't always caught. Half of them belong in jail. They aren't there, are they?
Because people like you are too scared to turn them in.
That's right. I'm scared, I admit it. But I'm alive.
Are you? You call living like this being alive? Taking orders, being afraid all the time, cutting down the shellac you make so you can give them more alcohol? How long are you going to let this go on?
I don't know what I'm going to do, son. Just leave me alone.
So you don't want the deal no more, huh? You hear that, Whitey? He don't like our money. He wants to call everything off.
You gotta let me out, Sherman. I'll pay you back every cent I owe you. Just let me out and I'll sell this place for whatever I can get.
We don't want you to sell, Miller. We can't get no more alky if you sell. That's why we invested in you.
You never invested in me. All you wanted was the alcohol. You wouldn't have gotten that if you hadn't fooled me into thinking you were honest. Now, please, Sherman, you've done everything you can for me. You've got to let me out. I just can't take it anymore.
You're gonna have to take it, Miller, because you haven't got the nerve to do anything else.
I will. I'll go to the police.
Will you?
You've got to let me out, I tell you.
Okay. You want out? All you gotta do is say the word. Go ahead, Miller. Say it if you can't take it anymore. I'll put you out. You see? I know your kind better than you do yourself. Now go on, get out of here. Don't come back crying to me anymore, because if you do, I'll give you what you're looking for, understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Oh, hello, Warwick. What's new? I see. You think that Miller is actually making less shellac than he was before, in spite of the increase in alcohol orders?
Yes, sir. I've been checking with some of his customers, and not one of them reports an increase in purchases. If anything, their orders are smaller.
Well, if that's the case, we better find out exactly what Miller is up to. See if you can make a thorough examination of the plant and, if possible, his books without arousing suspicion.
All right, Chief. I'll go right to work on it. As soon as I have any news, I'll let you know.
Good afternoon. Can I help you?
Mr. Miller?
That's right.
How do you do? My name's Warwick. I happened to be out this way on business, Mr. Miller, and I heard that you were at one time considering selling this place. At least I understand it was on the market for a month or two.
Well, yes, it was, Mr. Warwick. Why?
Oh, I was just wondering. As a matter of fact, I wanted to find out if there's any possibility of your offering it for sale again.
Well, yes, there is, if the right buyer comes along. Sit down, Mr. Warwick.
Thanks.
In fact, I was thinking about this just this morning. I'd sort of like to get out of what I'm doing and go into some new kind of business. I need a change.
Mm-hmm. Of course, you can furnish statements on profits, volume of business, the accounts you service, and so on?
Of course, of course. I'll be glad to show you my books. We could have an appointment, and I'll go over them with you.
Good.
In fact, if you'd like to look over the...
What is it, Mr. Miller?
I'm afraid we'd better continue this discussion some other time, Mr. Warwick.
Well, any time you say.
Well, suppose you come back tomorrow. We'll have more time to talk about it then. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. I'll be back in the morning.
Thank you.
Who's your friend, Miller?
Oh, no friend, just someone that walked in.
Is that why you try to make a deal with him? I told you to behave yourself, Miller. Not to try to sell out on me behind my back.
Why, I don't know what you mean.
Come on, quit stoning. We heard what you said. You were trying to sell him the place.
No, I wasn't. Just the opposite. I said it wasn't on the market anymore.
Look, Miller. We're partners, you and me. Partners for good. I don't like you to try to wiggle out on me.
Oh, but I wasn't. Honest, Mr. Sherman. I know that I can't get out of our deal. You told me so, but I've lived up to my part of it, haven't I? What more do you want?
A guarantee, Miller. A guarantee you wouldn't pull a stunt like this again.
Oh, don't.
Shut up. I ain't listening to words no more. I don't like to get crossed. I gotta teach you to be a good boy. A real good boy. Take him out in the shed, Whitey.
No, please, please.
Out, I said.
You haven't seen him at all, Mr. Calvin? Oh, I thought maybe he might have stopped there on his way home from work. No, I'm worried about him. He's 2 hours late now. I'm afraid something might have happened to him. See, he usually comes... He just came in. Sorry to bother you, Mr. Calvin. Pa, what happened?
Nothing, Clyde. Nothing.
I'll get a doctor.
No. Don't get anybody. Nobody.
But, Pa, you're hurt.
I said no, Clyde. Nobody must know about this. Otherwise, they'll beat me more next time. Otherwise, next time they'll kill me.
It was Sherman. Him and that other gangster. I'll get a doctor.
No, Clyde. I said you can't. Nobody must know about this. Nobody must ever know.
Feeling any better today, Pa?
Oh, I'll be all right, son.
Pa, I'm sorry.
No, Clyde, don't answer it. I don't want to see anybody.
Pa, you can't keep hiding. People are gonna find out sooner or later. What are you gonna tell them?
Clyde.
Yeah?
Hi, son. My name is Warwick. I had an appointment with Mr. Miller this morning, but he wasn't at his store. Is he at home?
Yeah, come on in.
Thanks.
Pa, Mr. Warwick's here to see you.
I called your store, Mr. What happened to you?
Oh, I had an accident, Mr. Warwick.
I'm sorry to hear it. How did it happen?
Well, I slipped on some stairs. I'm sorry, but I'm in no condition to talk business today. Besides, I don't want to sell the shellac business anymore. I've changed my mind.
Naturally, you don't feel like talking about it now. Where did you have this accident, Mr. Miller? Was it here at home?
Yes, I slipped on the cellar stairs. There was something on the first step.
You're not in some sort of trouble, are you, Mr. Miller? Because if you are, I'd like to help.
Oh, no trouble.
Tell me, Mr. Miller, those two men who were with you yesterday, are they friends of yours? Do you know them very well?
No, I never saw them before. Now, for heaven's sake, can't you leave me alone? I just don't feel like talking anymore.
All right, Mr. Miller. I just hope you feel better.
Thank you.
Pa, maybe you think it's right, but I say it's wrong. I know it's wrong to let things like this happen to you and not do anything about it. I don't care who those two guys are, or how tough they can be. We can't let them get away with it. In the end, they'll only make it worse than it is now.
They can't make it any worse than it is now, son. If I just do what they tell me and not make any trouble, sooner or later they'll finish what they're doing and they'll go away.
They won't, Pa. They'll stay as long as you let them stay. As long as they know you're still afraid of them. The only way to get rid of them is to chase them out. Stand up to them. Let them know you mean business.
Where are you going, Clyde?
I'll be back, Pa. When they've gone, I'll be back.
Come back. Clyde! Clyde!
Go on, Whitey. What else? Well, that's it. He said he's going to go to the cops and spill the whole thing. We don't clear out of here. He don't like gangsters. He's going to send us to jail.
Uh-huh. That's big words, kid. You got enough nerve to back him up?
You don't dare do anything to me.
Come on, Ray. Let's cut the chatter and get this thing over with. We got to shut this kid up good.
We'll shut him up, all right.
You lay a hand on me and you'll get it back double. You can't kick everybody around, no matter who you...
Shut up. You hear me? Shut up. You open your mouth again and I'll let you have it.
Go ahead. I ain't afraid of you. You're just bluffing. You haven't got the nerve to plug anybody.
Well, you lousy little punk, I ought to fan your hide for you.
Come on, Ray. Give it on. Give it on. It's the only way we're going to shut this kid up. Come on. Come on.
Drop the gun.
What is this?
That's what it looks like. United States Treasury, Sherman, you're under arrest. You all right?
Sure, I knew they wouldn't hurt me. They're just a lot of hot air.
Well, it's a lucky thing we've been keeping an eye on you ever since you left the house. All right, Clayton, take him on.
Clyde! Clyde! What are you doing here?
Well, I'm all right, Pa.
Sure, he's fine. He's just been helping the Treasury Department crack a tough case.
Well, they're not so tough, Mr. Warwick. Take the gun out of their hands and they're not tough at all.
The basis of evidence obtained by Investigator Warwick and supported by the testimony of Eugene and Clyde Miller, Ray Sherman, Whitey Gage, and 4 of their confederates were tried and convicted for violation of our alcohol tax laws. All 6 men received long sentences in prison. For not notifying the proper authorities after learning that illegal liquor was being made on his premises, Miller himself was indicted on a lesser charge and pleaded guilty, but received a suspended sentence.